What's up, guys? I think everyone on this call probably knows who I am. Zap, your EC program manager. I do like to always give a little tidbit at every time if you hop on a call. I'm so excited because we just were approved to do an in-person event. So it'll be masked up. We are doing virtual networking next week. We have this cool platform that'll allow us to like switch people like every 2 minutes, and it'll be like virtual speed networking. But the following week, the week of the 25th, we're going to be hosting an in-person masked up event. So for people who are dying to get out, it is here. For people who are not dying to get out, we want to give you options as well. But either way, exciting things to come. Exciting things today. So excited to have Austin with us. He did a workshop a couple months ago that was super popular. And through Renew Nashville, we really just have so many freelancers, so many people who work for themselves, independent contractors, consultants, and he is just an expert in this space. Anyways, so glad you're here, Austin. I'm going to hand things over to you.
Awesome. Thanks for having me back. I have been looking forward to this. This is some of my favorite stuff to teach. So I'll just go ahead. It's always fun getting the screen sharing. Share screen. Then I have to do another one. Give me one sec.
No worries.
Let's see. Hold on one sec. This is always, Haley, did I tell you about my dumpster fire presentation last year?
No, what happened?
Well, it was the very first training like this I had ever done. And, okay, here we go. And all of my audio got repeated back in my ear.
Oh my God.
But anyway, okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
We good?
It looks good to me.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to launch in. My name is Austin L. Church, and I am so glad you're here today. To kick things off, I'd like to hear from you in the chat. What's your relative level with freelancing? My guess is some people are new. Other people have probably been at it for a while. What I'm going to show you today, I think, is applicable to everyone, but just give me some insight in the chat real quick. No matter where you're coming from, let's get you some clarity. Let's point out at least one thing that you can work on in your business. And also typical webinar stuff, you'll get more out of this if you don't multitask. Just saying. Okay. At the end, I'm going to give you the stuff that I go through. So if you want to take notes, be my guest. If you don't want to take notes, great. Just sit back, take it all in, and I'll make sure you get everything at the end. Okay, so who is this bozo who's all caffeinated and talking to you about freelancing? Well, I started freelancing not by choice, but because I got laid off from a marketing agency. It was back in 2009. At that time, they were calling it the Great Recession. I don't know if it lost that title because of 2020. That's a conversation for another time. But I got pushed forcibly out of the 9-to-5 nest, had no idea what I was doing. I did not have a business background. I did not have a marketing background. I had $486 in my bank account. Like that, that number is seared into my memory because I woke up on the Monday after getting laid off on a Friday and thought, I am so stupid. Like, why didn't I save more money? Why am I in this position? And it's not fun to be broke, but I hope that's also inspiring to you, because if I can figure it out, a clueless, jobless poet, you can figure it out too. Anyway, 6 months passed. I landed my first $2,900 a month marketing retainer, and that was really transformative. It changed my life, in part because I could cover my bills, because I could pay off debt, because I was able to travel more. Ultimately, I bought an engagement ring, but that transformation brings up a really important point. but Jason Fried, founder of Basecamp and a number of other things, he said it better than I can. And I would say this freelancing is not about getting rich, though there's certainly nothing wrong with that. Instead, for me, and I would say for me too, making money is about freedom. When you owe people money, they own you, or at least they own your schedule. As long as you remain profitable, the timeline is yours to create. I love that. Uh, because I own my schedule, I spend more time with my family. I'm married. I have 3 young children. I ended up writing and publishing a children's book. I had time to do that during the day because I own my schedule. And that experience is one I want to repeat again and again. So when I think when I think about making more money as a freelancer, in my mind, that equals being able to pursue my own creative projects. The point is, money is never the point. Money just represents something else you want. So whether it's an extra $5,000, $10,000, $50,000 you want to make in 2021, what does that mean for you? What would you start saying no to if you were making that extra money? What would you start saying yes to if you were making that extra money? So for me, I love going on field trips with my kids. I love traveling. Back when people traveled, maybe we'll travel again in 2021. Maybe like me, you'd spend more time on creative projects, writing projects. Maybe you'd finish your album. Maybe you'd build a house. Maybe you'd adopt a kid. Maybe you would do crazy adventures around the world, whatever. I just remind you that the whole point is making more money so that you have more freedom. Okay, so with that in mind, we're going to spend the next 15 to 20 minutes going through this blueprint. And I want to make another point about the goal here. I think a lot of us grow up with mistaken beliefs about work, that work is supposed to be hard, that we have to make an honest day's wage. And I believed that for a long time. And I think that has limited my growth, that has limited my progress. So I would just encourage you to, for the next at least 20 minutes, think and act like a cheater. Take what I've learned, take all of the lessons, many of them counterintuitive, stuff I've distilled down into this blueprint, and use it, and sort of skip the line, skip the decade of trial and error, and just please do this. And you can upgrade your mindset along the way. Anyway, here's the first step. And for those of you who've been freelancing for a while, you're like, oh, I already know that. But I'm telling you, if you go through all these steps, you will discover something new. List out all your skills. You've had education, you've had past jobs, maybe even freelance gigs. You've picked up skills and experience and expertise along the way. Set a timer for like 5 minutes and just write down everything you can think of, and write down the things that people ask you about all the time too. You may have some skills that you're already known for that you just never really think about as being marketable skills. So take Jenny. Jenny is good at Microsoft Office, cooking, basketball, blogging, email marketing, bookkeeping, and Canva. So like I said, brainstorm what you're good at. Think of as many skills as you can. All right, I'm going to minimize this real quick. Perfect. Okay. Then once you've got the list, draw a circle around your top 3. And remember, you have certain skills, but they may not be most marketable right now. You might know how to use an abacus, not marketable right now. Even Jenny, like, she may know how to cook and she may know about basketball. She may know about basketball. She may be a really good basketball player, but it's not like she's going to drop everything and go join the WNBA. She has certain skills that are more marketable right now. And in her case, those are blogging, Canva/Instagram, and email marketing. So as you create that circle inside of a circle, top 3 most marketable skills right now. And then here's a step I think many freelancers miss. What are you already interested in? You're going to find it a whole lot easier to stay motivated if you can go with your natural enthusiasm and curiosity. I love bourbon and barbecue and business and being a dad, and I love being outdoors and fly fishing and running. And so I have like all these interests. It makes a whole lot of sense for me to actually pursue work that lines up with my interests. So in Jenny's case, that's startup, politics, law, barbecue, and being a mom. Okay, so once you have the circle of your most marketable skills and you have the circle of your interests, you can see where those overlap. And that's a really great way to start like focusing in on a potential niche. Now, you've probably heard a lot about niching down at this point. I do think it's a good idea, but I think there are a lot of folks who pick a bad niche. I had this one designer friend who decided that she was going to help authors who were going to self-publish. She was going to help them design their book covers and do the layouts for the books. There was one problem with that plan. Most of those authors didn't have much money. So because she had picked a niche where the clients were almost always cash strapped, she just found it very difficult to meet her sales targets and to get her income where she wanted it to be. So learning from that story, how do you know if you've picked a good niche? Here are 4 points. Do you find the work enjoyable? Do you find the people enjoyable? Can you make good money from the projects? And do your clients in that niche need your work, your help on a fairly consistent basis? You can pick one niche where it's like web design, for example. Your clients will only need a new website once every 3 to 5 years, maybe even longer. So you'll constantly be hustling to find that next website project, right? There are other types of design work and dev work where you could get work more consistently. So just keep that in mind as you begin thinking about, okay, which 2 niches do I want to go after? I do recommend picking 2 because some freelancers, they niche down and then they figure out, I don't even like the work. I don't even like the people. So, and like my friend, it doesn't pay well. This is hard. This is harder than it should be. So pick a couple of niches and then compare them to each other. Like client A was a startup, client B was a law firm. Which one do I enjoy more? Jenny can run a split test. Okay, so once you have picked a couple of niches, then what you want to do is get inside your prospective client's mind. Give me one sec. There we go. There we go. Okay. So I want you to set a timer for 30 minutes on this step, and you're going to delve into the goals, the pains and problems, the needs and wants, and the objections for the decision maker in your audience. If you're going after law firms and startups, then you'll have 2 different audiences, obviously. But you need to create like an ideal customer profile. You might hear it called like a customer avatar, a buyer persona. There are a whole bunch of different marketing terms for this. But anyway, why would a managing partner at a law firm hire someone like Jenny to write email content and set up monthly newsletters? Well, that managing partner probably wants to focus on growing the law firm, getting more clients, making more money. Maybe the firm even has a decent email list, but managing partner at a law firm, if he can bill out his own time at like $375 an hour, he doesn't need to be the one fiddling around in MailChimp or fiddling around in Emma or fiddling around in ConvertKit, right? That's sort of below his pay grade. So it doesn't make sense for him to have that on his plate. He would be very interested in helping or in hiring someone like Jenny to do that for him. Not to mention, someone like Jenny could do a much, much better job. And this whole exercise is important because too often we're like, hey, I can help you with your email marketing. I can write your content. I can set up your newsletters. But we've never gotten into like the emotional drivers, the motivation that someone would have to hire us in the first place. So the whole point of getting inside your clients' minds is figuring out that the why behind someone would hire you, right? Okay, so once you figure out what their motivations are, what they want and why they want it, you're going to find it a whole lot easier to develop messaging that is clear, strong, and empathetic. Eventually, you need to sell something to somebody, and people's first exposure to you, maybe your messaging probably will be, unless you meet someone face to face. That messaging is going to be off if you aren't super clear on why somebody would want to buy from you. What are their problems? And I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but gosh, when I was first getting started, this is the very part like I wanted to skip over, right? Like, just get me to an event, or I just need to get my website live, or I just need to be blowing up Facebook, right? That was back in the days when people blew up Facebook. I've just dated myself. Anyway, you need to decide what it is you're selling, and then you need to decide why someone would buy it. Now, this is a big point. People don't want to buy services, they want to buy outcomes. As a freelancer, you're going to make a lot more money selling outcomes rather than skills. So pretend you're a surgeon. A surgeon, if she were really smart, isn't going to walk around selling hip replacements. People who need hip replacements want a hip replaced because they want to see their quality of life go up, right? A grandfather wants to be able to keep up with his grandkids. He wants to be able to play golf. He wants to be able to go on a hike. He wants to be able to do yoga. He wants to have great health and be mobile and be active, right? So a smart surgeon would say, hey, let's get you back to your active lifestyle. That's the outcome. So a smart surgeon would sell that active lifestyle outcome. What outcomes are you selling? What's on the other side of your services? What's the end result, right? So one of Jenny's clients, a startup, might say, man, I really wish our blog didn't suck. We haven't posted in months. So you can sell blog writing services, or you could sell an amazing blog that gets you new customer leads every single week, or something like that. You see the difference? Blog writing or ghost writing or blogging versus an awesome blog that gets you new customers every week, new leads every week. Big difference. Okay, so I want to reframe this from the client's point of view. Here's what Kenneth might be thinking. We have this huge email list that we never use. We've probably lost clients and opportunities because we don't stay in touch. Yet we lack the bandwidth and the expertise to do this well in-house. We're stuck. That is what the managing partner at a law firm would actually think, not walking around being like, where do we find email marketing services? Like, sell to people in their own language, right? Right. Okay. So you've got your niches. You've developed a profile for the decision maker in each niche. You've gotten down to their real motivations. You have some understanding of what language they use. And by the way, pro tip, if you're not sure what language they use, ask someone in that target audience, in that niche, if you can interview them, and just ask them questions. record the call, and then now you'll have their language. So if you want to market to lawyers, find a lawyer that you went to college with, find a startup founder that you met at a coffee shop and say, hey, can I grab 30 minutes of your time and just ask you questions? I'm doing market research, right? Call it market research. And so if you can't guess, or you don't want to guess at their motivations and their problems, ask. All right. So interviews are pretty good because they'll then like take you into your offers. Now, this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, sell outcomes, not services. I would also say, well, those outcomes need to be packaged up as valuable offers. And so there are two different ways to think about how you talk about outcomes, right? There are two different types of benefits of your services. One type is functional. So the functional benefit of a blog post might be like high quality content, but what is the emotional benefit of high quality content for a startup founder? So let's talk about that, right? Functional, well-researched and well-written content or blog posts. What's the emotional benefit for a founder? Like confidence. I'm proud of my blog. When I go talk to my investors, I can show these vital signs. Yeah, we're doing a great job with the blog. We're getting new customers every week from our content marketing. You see the difference. So as you start to think through your offers, think through functional benefits of, like, you have these outcomes. What are the functional benefits? What are the emotional benefits? Here's just a list of emotional benefits. And also, here's a list of questions. These can help you come up with your 3 core offers. I'll just let you read these quickly. Okay. There's a lot more I could tell you about how to put together a strong offer. I think really great offers come with a bold promise. You're promising them that outcome. You would touch a little bit on the process that you use to get them to that outcome. Obviously, there'd be a price involved. I think it helps to talk about a few short-term results, maybe even how you're going to point them to a long-term transformation. But some other time, I'll take you through like the whole master class on here's how you put together a killer offer. For now, let's move on to messaging. Another reason to do those ideal customer profiles I mentioned earlier is because you need to develop messaging, that strong, clear, empathetic messaging. And you'll already have some of those insights that you can sort of weave into your messaging if you start with the ideal customer profile. And obviously, interviews are going to be a big deal here too. But here's what Jenny does not want to say in her messaging. I am a freelance writer who produces high quality content at an affordable price. I guarantee, I'm a writer. That's how I entered freelancing. I guarantee I had language like this on my first couple of websites, right? It's just very matter of fact. I mean, who wouldn't want to hire someone who can produce high quality content at an affordable price, right? Okay, so what should I have said instead? I will help you get unstuck by walking you through a step-by-step process. We will capture your incredible case studies in writing and make them entertaining and powerful. Or I will make it easy for you to get your best ideas and stories down on paper, create content you're proud of, and build your brand. Or as your ghostwriter, I will save you a ton of time and help you position yourself and help to position you as a thought leader. So you see that this is framed as a matter-of-fact description of the services you provide. If you take the insights from your ideal customer profile and use them to develop your messaging, the stuff that you write will be a lot more resonant like this because it's framed around the problems that you're making go away. You can make problems disappear for your clients. Talk about the problems you will make disappear and talk about how they'll feel and what will happen as a result, right? Okay, so let's exhale. I'm going to do a quick recap. We're going to do the 2 final steps, and then we'll have some Q&A. We're doing pretty good on time. Number 1, list your skills. 2, pick your top 3 most marketable skills right now. 3, take those 2 circles where they overlap. That's the sweet spot. That's where you should be able to see a couple of potential niches. Once you've picked your niches, you're going to get inside the minds of decision makers in that target audience, create that ideal customer profile. Ideally, you'll also book an interview with someone in that target audience who fits the profile, and just ask them questions. If you want a list of questions, email me. Haley's got my email. And then, before I move on, you can see how achievable this is, right? I wish I'd done things this way when I first got started. I was just very I did not have a methodical approach because I didn't know any better. But as time has passed, I've realized I could have made a lot more money a lot sooner and had a lot more freedom, and even broken up with troublesome clients sooner if I had gotten clarity around this stuff. But anyway, now let's move on to your prices. Okay, so most freelancers make 2 big mistakes with pricing. They try to compete based on price alone. Remember earlier, high quality content at an affordable price. Believe it or not, they're the best clients. They're not actually looking for a good deal. They're looking for an outcome. A lot of them are really smart business people. They'll buy business class or first class on a flight because they want a certain sort of experience, not because they're trying to save money. So first things first, don't try to compete based on price alone. That's a losing battle. Second thing, I already kind of mentioned it. Don't try to compete based on price. Don't try to give clients a good deal. They're not looking for a deal. They're looking for an outcome. Okay. So I want to share one of the counterintuitive lessons that I learned early on that quite literally blew my mind. I made a lot of mistakes early on, but one of the things I did right was taking a piece of advice from a guy named Andrew Gordon. Andrew lives in Knoxville. And back in early May, I think it was May 1st, 2009, I managed to get a meeting with this guy. Our mutual friend, Dan, shared an office with Andrew. Dan made the introduction. I turned the introduction into a meeting. I will never forget, like, sitting there with my knees knocking as Andrew thumbed through my portfolio. I had printed out my portfolio. Again, this is in the dark ages. And I was just so nervous because I'm like, what is he going to say, right? $486 in my bank account, broke, really needed some work fast. So I'm just sitting there, nervous. He finishes looking at my portfolio and he asked me what my rates were. And I felt like I was being very bold when I said $40 an hour. My voice probably cracked. $40 an hour, right? Anyway, he thought about it. He said, so you've got 6 months of experience, right? And I said, yeah, right. And he was like, can I give you a piece of advice? And I thought, here we go. He's going to tell me it's going to be easier for me to get clients if I lower my prices and I'm more competitive. But that's not what he said. And what he said, I now think of as like this piece of advice is like the golden suitcase. It's a suitcase full of cash. He said, if I were you, I would raise your hourly rate to $75 an hour effective immediately. If you only charge $40 an hour, you will not be taken seriously in larger markets like Charlotte and Atlanta and even Nashville, right? You will not be taken seriously. You'll be perceived as cheap. Mind blown. So that golden suitcase lesson was pricing is branding. Your prices are part of your positioning. If you try to be competitive and give your clients a good deal, you send the wrong signals. Low rates signal lack of experience, lack of expertise, lack of confidence. Low rates say, I don't respect the value I bring to the table, and neither should you. On the other hand, premium rates say, I'm good at what I do, I know what I'm worth, you can trust my professionalism and expertise. Pricing is branding. And I don't think this should come as a shocker, because when you think about a Timex versus a Rolex, most Timex watches actually keep better time than Rolex watches. The functional benefit is better with the Timex, right? So why would someone get a Rolex? Well, they like it as a status symbol. They like it as a piece of art. They have another motivation than saving money. It's more expensive, and people equate price and quality. So like I said, if your prices are low right now, you're sending the signal that your quality is low too. And I just want to drive that lesson home, because some of my freelance coaching clients, especially if they're earlier in the game, think that, oh, well, like if I give people a good deal, if I'm the cheaper option, that's a good strategic move. And the reasoning goes something like this. Oh, there's a marketing agency down the street that charges twice as much as I do. Local clients can hire me instead and get twice as much work for the same price. And what I have discovered is, because your prices are lower, people will sometimes make a snap judgment. If they ask you how much you charge and you tell them, they make a snap judgment, and the conversation never even progresses from there. So just keep that in mind as you set your prices, or maybe better yet, ask yourself the question, are my prices giving me strong positioning? Are my prices sending the right signal? Deal? Deal. Okay. So in very practical terms, when someone says, oh, how do I set my prices? I'm like, it depends, right? If you lived in Cebu in the Philippines, you could get by and have a great lifestyle on $1,000 a month. If you're in Nashville or in another metropolitan area in the US, it's really, really hard to live on $1,000 a month. So how much you should charge depends on your lifestyle and your income goals. It just depends, right? So ask these questions, rather than some formula or prescriptive advice coming from me. These questions, I think, will help you gain clarity. What do you need to charge in order to feel great about the project scope, right? What amount of money would put a smile on your face? What amount of money would make you feel like you're winning at life, right? Is making this much sustainable based on my cost of living? Back to the Cebu, Nashville example. Does charging this much feel a little risky? If so, good. And finally, does charging this much move me toward my long-term goals? I had a meeting with a coaching client the other day. She's a wedding planner, and I broke down how her current prices will actually make it impossible for her to meet her income goals. She will never meet her income goals because she's using up all of her available time inventory, selling that out at this lower price. And it was just like a very practical discovery, like you have to raise your prices or that income target will always be out of reach. So are your prices, your current prices, moving you toward your long-term income goals? Well, if not, you've got to change them. You don't have a choice. Okay. So Jenny would say, I'm going to charge what I feel great about making. And I really do think it's as simple as that. If you don't feel great about what you're making, chances are it's because some of these other questions you weren't able to come up with a satisfactory answer. Okay. Finally, all of this assumes that you're getting leads, that potential projects are coming to you, that you're finding them. And when I start talking about marketing, that word freaks a lot of people out. So let's keep things simple and effective, shall we? Marketing is pretty simple. It's giving people a chance to care. If you never talk about what you do, how can people care? People can't care if they don't know. In the marketing realm, your goal isn't to do all the things, it's to pick a couple of strategies and to do those strategies well and to treat them as experiments. So, how can you get new clients? Well, I have known all 12 of these strategies to be effective for getting more clients. I would recommend picking 2 of these and going deep with those, time boxing them, putting in a statistically significant number of activities. So you can't say, hey, you know what? I'm going to get new clients on LinkedIn. You have to say, I'm going to do prospecting on LinkedIn daily for 6 months. And I'm going to send at least 500 connection requests and 300 messages and see if that produces conversations, and those conversations then produce project leads or proposals that then produce paying projects, right? So make sure that you pick 2. So don't spread yourself too thin. Any of these are fine, really. People don't succeed at their marketing, not because they picked a strategy that was doomed from the start. It's usually because they didn't put enough reps in. Hey, I'm going to show up on Instagram, but you show up on Instagram once or twice a week, not even every week. You get what I'm saying? Unless you're consistent, you can't expect results. Consistency trumps everything in marketing. Okay. Jenny's not going to do all the things. She is going to target startups on Instagram, and she's going to target law firms on LinkedIn. Keep it simple. So here's your back of the napkin, your cocktail napkin marketing plan. Pick 2 strategies for your 2 niches. Be sure to tap your existing network. There are probably people you already know who would be happy to hire you or happy to make an introduction to someone else who could hire you. And then make sure you put in a statistically significant number of activities, at least 100, for each of your 3 strategies. And by 3, I mean tapping your existing network and then the other 2 from this list. Okay. Already said that. Consistency trumps everything in marketing. Time box it, maybe 100 days. Already kind of mentioned this. Most freelancers, it's not that they picked the wrong strategy, it's just that they gave up too soon. And then finally, you're going to double down on what works. Time boxing is important because if you get to the end of the 3 months or the 6 months or the 100 days or whatever, and that particular strategy and those tactics and activities that support it, if it hasn't produced results, okay, now you know, pivot to a new strategy. If it did work well, awesome, ramp up those efforts, right? Do more of what's already working. All right, that was a lot, wasn't it? Hope you guys are feeling okay. If you want to, in the chat, tell me what was the most useful thing for you so far. Let's do a quick recap. That's the business blueprint. Like I said, I'll email it to you guys later. And then I just want you to know this is doable. Like I've been a freelancer for 12 years now, consistently made 6 figures, even being a business idiot a lot of the time. Like I said, clueless poet, no background in business, never took a marketing class. You can figure it out. You really can. But I do think you'll make progress faster if you learn business skills and if you learn some of the counterintuitive truths. And speaking of counterintuitive stuff, my master's program in English literature and creative writing did not teach me about the golden suitcase, right? I had to learn everything through trial and error. So if if there's a lot that you still don't know about business, don't beat yourself up. A lot of the things that have been most helpful for me are things that my parents never taught me, professor never taught me. I will say I've had a lot of great experience hiring coaches and accelerating my progress that way. So if you are really serious about growing your business and earning more as a freelancer, I would encourage you to hire a coach. If you would like to hear about the coaching program I'm rolling out later this month, fill out this application, okay? I can send you details. You can make up your mind later, but you can accelerate your project with a freelance business coach. That has been probably the best decision I've made over the years. I'm in a coaching program right now. I love it. It's no surprise that top performers in all these different areas hire coaches. Okay, I'm going to stop this screen share and let's move to Q&A. That was a whirlwind. Thanks
Yeah,
for
people,
sticking with me,
unmute
guys.
yourselves, talk to us. You can talk in the chat, but I'd be a lot happier if you talk to me and Austin. I can pretend to be someone else though too, and I'll talk to you. I'll do like an impersonation of questions in the chat.
You're like, hey, Zap, how's your freelance business going? Right?
Katie, Kathy, anyone want to ask a question?
I'm happy to invent fake questions and pretend like someone asked them. Someone said something. Somebody said something.
Yeah.
So I do know my two target niches, startups. Oh, and I should back up and say what I do. I do HR consulting.
Nice.
And my two niches are startups and then small businesses on the EOS system.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And, previously when I got started with all this, I didn't really have niches identified, but just kind of gravitated to those areas. And the strategies I used previously were just a ton of in-person marketing and LinkedIn. And those two methods did not lead to sales before. So I'm wondering if you have any advice on, now that I do know my niches, those two specifically, where would you recommend I dig in?
What would you say your strengths are? I love writing. I love people and conversations. And so I've tried to do things in the past that just felt very uncomfortable for me. And I always would resist regular marketing work because it was a real stretch. So what in that list that I can drop the list, I can show you the list again, but was there anything there that jumped out at you because it would help you play to your strengths?
Well, industry specific areas, I was thinking about that in terms of small businesses with EOS.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's virtual now. I don't really know how to plug into those spaces. And I have found my strength is personability and professionalism. So when people interact with me on a personal level, it's usually very great for my business. And I think that's why like the LinkedIn strategy I had been using wasn't effective because they weren't seeing me. So ideally I would be able to get in front of them or have a recommendation from a person within that cohort of business leaders, because I really get them. I'm not intimidated by CEOs or founders. So I think that's a big plus for me.
Okay, so a couple of ideas then. One, try with LinkedIn, but do video messages instead of written messages. Use something like Loom. There's Boom Bomb Bomb, not Boom Boom, Bomb Bomb. Another one's called Dub. But whether you're doing cold email outreach or you're just talking to people on LinkedIn, it's a really sneaky and effective thing. You get your face, like people connect with faces, right? Like I love part of the problem with presenting on Zoom is it's like this echo chamber, right? And I love the energy that I get back when I'm actually being on stages really freaks me out. That's a whole other conversation, but I love being with people, and people connect with faces. I'm always more effective at selling when I can meet with people face to face, but okay, I can't right now most of the time. Video messages, right? And again, just put in a statistically significant number of activities and then track. I always track and see what happens in a spreadsheet. And I give myself, like, guys, we don't need to keep going with things to prove that we're not quitters anymore. If it doesn't work, give up and try something else. So open a little G sheet, put all the people you've contacted, here's the video message, and tell me your name again. Katie, you just say, hey, like, you can start the conversation through a direct message anyway, right? But then you're like, hey, I'm just curious, like, what's your familiarity with the EOS framework? I'm obsessed with it. And based on what I've learned about your business online, if you don't already have like a core operating system that you're using to help you scale, I really think you'd love this. Have you looked into EOS system at all? That might be it, right? And just it's you and your passion and enthusiasm coming through. Maybe it doesn't work. I don't know. I have lots of marketing experiments that don't work. That's part of it. But that's the first one. And then the second one is, if you're passionate about EOS, go be on podcasts and talk about EOS, right? That was a big push that I did last year. Haley and I did not know each other. I met her through a friend of mine named Clark Buckner. And I was like, hey, do you think there's this possibility that I could teach a webinar? Like, so this whole experience is a direct result of me saying, I want to do podcasts and workshops and webinars more as a way to generate leads. At the end, I'll talk about my coaching program. If it's the right fit, people can fill out the application. If it's not the right fit, that's their prerogative, right? But pick two. And I think if you're personable, run with that. Video messages, podcasts. Does that help?
I've done a lot of podcasts. Well, I've done several podcasts, I would say, and love it. It feels really natural, but not a statistically significant amount. So thank you. Like, that's great. Like, that's actionable immediately. So thank you.
Make sure at the end of a podcast, you give away something, right? Like maybe it's a quick start guide for using the EOS, for starting the EOS system tomorrow or whatever, right? But when I think a lot of people dangle an open loop, they're like, hey, if you like my podcast, find me online, hit me up on my socials, right? I think it's a whole lot better to say, I have created a very specific tool that will help you take action with what you've just learned. And if you want it, go here and plug in your email address and you can download it immediately. I have never been on a podcast where they said, you cannot promote a piece of content or a tool at the end. They're all happy to, because you're creating value for their audiences. All right, let's see. Kathy, I saw you writing stuff down.
I got too excited. I got too excited. Like it's confirmation to push.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of the opposite. Like I'm good and personable, but I hate it. Like I don't like if I'm in a group, I'm uncomfortable, but I know like, okay, after 53 years, you just have to do it.
Yeah.
So when you said skills, I was like, okay, I'm that person that deals with nonprofits. So like you said, most of the ones I love to deal with, they don't have the money.
Yeah.
But when you said skills, I started writing down things. So I just have to do what you said, do, and plug in that way and then do more of the video. I like that idea too.
So one of the things that I started doing last year and I've continued this year is learning from female entrepreneurs, because I figured out I need to opt out of hustle culture. It does not work with my personality, right? Anyway, I've been digging this woman named Denise Duffield Thomas. And I'm reading her book, Chillpreneur, right now. I'm about halfway through. And she's been talking about like, guys, find the thing that's easier for you to do. And I don't like, nobody's given out merit badges for making things more difficult than they need to be. And yet I often have this attitude, maybe it's my upbringing. I have awesome parents, but they were like, oh, you don't like Little League, but you need to stick with it and play to the end of the season, right?
Yeah.
But we're all grown ass adults now, and we can quit things if we want to, right? And so I would say,
Like that.
like, it's an odd strategy, but like when it comes to marketing and even freelancing, like, what is the easiest thing? And so for me, coaching, I'm like, I get to hang out with awesome people and help them solve their problems. And that is something I would stay up late for and get up early for, and it doesn't feel like work. So I would say, like, is out of everything you do, Kathy, even with nonprofits, what is the thing that doesn't really feel like work?
I mean, that's it right there. I call myself the coach, the consultant. But when you got to the pricing part, I think that's the problem I was having, was
Because of
really
nonprofits?
believing that my value, and
Yeah.
that if I get someone and I talk to them, like, wow, you do all of that. Wow, like I should charge, I should pay you 5,000, but but
So is it that they don't have the money, or that you aren't asking for the money?
probably a little both. If there's
Yeah.
a middle, there's a good middle. Because when you broke it down, I was like, even with marketing, like I'm good at social media.
Mhm.
I'm on the back end of some people's, like Facebook, and I've
Mhm.
gotten really, really good at it. But I just never thought about people pay for that. I was like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it was
yeah.
really cool. The wedding planner, her name's Maura.
Mhm.
She's great at it, right? But when I found out that she was charging, I forget exactly what she was charging, but it would take her 100 hours to pull
Mhm.
off a wedding. So we figured out what her effective hourly rate was, and then
Okay.
how many hours per year she even had available to work. And
Right.
then you do some quick math and you're like, listen, it's actually pretty easy to increase your prices by 20% if you
Mhm.
pivot to like fixed price, fixed scope projects, and you don't charge hourly. I don't charge hourly for anything anymore. And also coming up with those offers, I think that could be huge. Like if you have a Facebook management offer
Mhm.
that gets them so many posts per month, and you will respond to any private messages and blah, blah, blah,
Mhm.
and make that a no-brainer offer for them. It doesn't matter if it only takes you 30 minutes, right?
Right.
But I found it super helpful to say, what is my effective hourly rate? Ooh, that's way too low. I'd have to work 130 hours a week at that rate in order to hit my weekly and monthly targets, and I would die.
Right. Right.
So it sounds like you're on the right track in terms of, you've got skills,
Yeah.
and if you tweak your pricing and your offers a little bit,
Mhm.
people are going to go for it. Have a
Yeah.
little faith.
Right. That part.
I've
Okay.
got faith. Do you have faith?
I have faith until you're all alone by yourself. You're like, oh. So I try to stay connected. So this was good today. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
I have bad days, and it's funny. I actually have this whole protocol that I have
Mhm.
to run on my bad days.
Okay.
It's like
Okay.
this system. I'm like, oh, I'm really grumpy. I've gotten better at even being aware when I'm grumpy,
Mhm.
right? Best sign is when I hate everyone and everything.
Sounds
Oh, maybe I
familiar.
should pull out the how to have a better day protocol. But anyway, thanks for
Okay.
joining
But I
today.
appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I think we have time for one more.
Hey, Austin, it's Dee.
Hi,
How are you?
Dee.
Good. Great presentation. I just kind of wanted to jump in. This is an area that I'm interested in, so I appreciate the groundwork and business protocol, but I do have a question regarding coaching. Can you
Yeah.
speak a little bit about the benefits of it and when it is a good time to pivot and hire a coach?
Sure. So, I mean, Kathy already kind of mentioned it. Like, I think if you're the sort of person who likes to do things with other people and you appreciate getting feedback, that's a big deal. Like my coaching clients, it's like I don't just say, "Hey, put together your offers." They send the offers to me, and then my team critiques them and gives them advice. Here's how to improve them, and then it's like, "All right, and now you need to publish those on your website by this Friday, whatever." So, in terms of when is it a good time, I think it goes back to, are you motivated to grow? I have colleagues, I have freelance friends who are really happy with where they're at. Um, so I think there's a certain level of drive or ambition that you need to have in order to really benefit from working with a coach. Like, do you have goals that you're not hitting? And if you have goals that you're not hitting, well, it makes a lot of sense that somebody with outside perspective can come alongside you, help you get clarity. The other thing I think that coaches help with is prioritization, right? When I work one-on-one with a client, sometimes they get on the phone and they go, "Whoa," right? And they just spit out all this stuff. And I'm pretty good at actually helping them sort through that. I had a call earlier today and I was like, his biggest constraint was super obvious to me, but not so obvious to him. And I just pointed it out and he was like, "Oh my gosh." And for him, it was like he needed to go get a business line of credit. Like he's got a thriving business, but he's not able to pay himself because, anyway, don't need to go into the weeds there. But having someone who has outside perspective and clarity. And then the other thing that comes to mind is principles and processes and playbooks, right? Like I'm obsessed with the kit of tools that I use. I don't know if you all are using ClickUp for project management or not, but holy crap, guys. Like it's like the project management tool of my dreams, and I'm obsessed with process. I'm like, if I'm going to have to do it more than once, I might as well have a checklist or a cheat sheet or a template or something like that. But anyway, there's no need for you all to reinvent the wheel. If you need to take another look at your positioning and value proposition, use my templates. If you need to get going with like a real deal project management platform, well, read my ClickUp playbook and implement it for yourself. If you need help putting together the right offers, well, don't start from scratch and get lost in the weeds on the internet. Just use the worksheet, right? So, Zap, I'm not sure how we're doing on time. If you've got a hard stop at 3.
Yeah. We can keep asking questions or we can wrap it up.
Well, I'll ask D. Did I answer your question?
You did. You did. I'm
Okay.
on the corporate side, so taking a step back and looking at it from the other side, it's been a little challenging, but no, you did answer my question. Thank you.
Cool. Well, unless there are other, I don't see any other questions in the chat. I think that may be it. Also,
Yeah,
I need to
I'll
raise
follow
my-
up with everyone and send on Austin's information and the link to his website. And then I'm sure Austin has other things for me too to send.
I have all the things, Zap.
All the things. Perfect.
But anyway, thank you all for coming and hanging out. And thank you, Zap, for coordinating everything. Great job as usual.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Peace.
Bye-bye.